Greetings and welcome to Pickled Watermelon Rinds, a guilty pleasure podcast featuring Antie Joan and Ontie, providing our zesty and marginally mature take on current events, pop culture, and trends. Now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, Antie Joan.
Guten Tag, Tante.
Ooh, guten Tag?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to give a shout out to our loyal listeners in Germany, aka Deutschland.
Nice, nice.
Yes, yes.
Can you greet the folks in Belgium as well?
Hi, Belgium.
Brussels, Belgium.
The home of Hercule Poirot.
What's that?
Hercule Poirot.
Oh,
Yeah, the detective.
gotcha.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm,
he's Belgian, huh?
mhm.
I don't think I knew that.
Now you got me thinking. I
No,
know
I
they
believe
used to.
you.
They used to, well, they would always tell him, "Oh, you're French," and he'd say, "No, I think he says Belgium, but
Oh,
it could be
well, there
another
you
B
go.
country. I guess I don't know."
Oh, I am with you.
Maybe I should look that up real quick, huh?
Nah. Let somebody correct us so they actually have to reach out. You know, you folk out there. We'd love to hear from you on the Instagram, the Facebook, the
Belgium, yeah.
YouTube. We're on it all. Leave us some info.
Hercule Poirot is a fictional Belgian detective created by British writer Agatha Christie.
All right. What's going on in your world, Auntie Joan?
Oh, I had a real fun lunch with two of my friends that
Oh,
I used to work with.
very nice.
One of them, our loyal listener, Sandy B. I
Super
don't know if
fan
I.
Sandy B, Sandy B, Sandy B.
She said she does like to hear her being shouted out. Um, did I ever tell you that she and I were office mates? We used to share an office
No, I don't
back
think I
in the
knew that
day.
part.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, could she tell you stories.
I bet.
Back in the 70s. Yeah. Yeah, those were the good old days.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, while we were talking, the other friend, Katie, she mentioned the Parkway Food Court in Longmont has Boozy Bingo on Monday
Ooh.
nights.
Ooh.
So this food court has like six different little, restaurant things,
Mm-hmm.
like she said it's like your typical food court, only the food is good. I mean,
Oh.
better,
Uh-huh.
And then they've got two bars there.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they had bingo on Monday nights. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is Auntie written all over
I
it.
love it. Two of my favorite things.
Yes. So I did send you a thing about it, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe mid-September or maybe even a little later, whenever works for you, we should head over and give it a try. I
That
don't think
sounds good.
their jackpots or their prizes are as big as the Longmont Bingo Hall, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it'll be more fun.
I'll be loaded. I won't even notice. Kidding. Sounds like maybe it's like an Avanti kind of thing where they have the food. They don't call them a food court. I think they call them food booths. But it's just like that, where you go in, there's 6 or 7 different food
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
big bar in the middle kind of thing. And each one can sell alcohol too. It just depends on what it is. But there's like Asian food and
Right. There's some
sandwiches
Mexican
or
and yeah,
pizzas or
barbecue and yeah,
Mediterranean
pizza.
foods, whatever.
We'll
Yeah,
just we'll just have to make sure that it has food that you would be happy with.
there'll probably be something. But yes,
Mhm.
I would check that out. And
Yeah.
the downside with doing that, Auntie Joan, is you know what that means that we can't do our Thai place then. Because if we're going to eat at the food court, then we
Well,
can't have our wonderful Thai food.
you mean the Thai kitchen in
The
Longmont?
Thai kitchen in Longmont.
Well, we can do that. We can go there.
No, because we're going to, I
Yeah,
can't eat
but we don't have
twice.
we can eat first and then go. It's just take a little longer to get there.
Oh, we'll have to talk about it when it gets
Mhm,
closer.
mhm. And there's a DQ on the
Inside the
way.
food court?
No, not inside the food court, but on the way home.
Okay.
Mhm,
Well, at least
mhm.
that stays the same.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, being able to
Yes.
sit down and have an adult beverage and play a little bingo.
Love it, love it,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what up with you?
Well, I think you wanted to talk about Meals on Wheels.
Oh, that's right. Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, I was on Facebook. A little thing came up saying that there's this peach pie festival or something at the Meals on Wheels pantry. Turns out in Boulder, they have not just a distributing Meals on Wheels to people, but
Mm-hmm.
they also have like a freezer with this is only available until the 16th. Peach pies made with fresh peaches from, probably the Western Slope. So they've got those, they've got quiche, they've got apple pie, they've got little pizzas from Protos, little ice cream. It's like a little bodega, a little convenience store. They
Oh,
just got all kinds of little stuff there and very friendly ladies that work there. And then she comes to tell me, she says, well, we have a little cafeteria thing too. So you can come during lunchtime and you can get one of their meals. And it's like $7.99.
well, there
Can't
you
beat
go.
that. Yeah.
And where is this in Boulder?
It is on the diagonal as you're going north out of
Mm-hmm.
Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
There's this big median, and they've added all kinds of apartments and stuff like that there. And they've got a little shop in there. It's right by the Boulder airport too. So it's
Oh,
around there. Yeah. Yeah.
gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. I did
It
not
was
know Meals on Wheels did anything other than deliver meals
well,
to the folks who need the meals.
well, in Boulder they do.
Very
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
So people out there, if you're looking for a special deal on a
Mm-hmm.
special lunch, check out Meals and Wheels and see if they have a little restaurant available for you.
There you
They're
go.
to what they're making,
Sure.
for the day. Yeah.
Sure. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And were you there during a time of day where you could have
Uh,
seen what the cafeteria setup was, or?
I could have gone in there and looked, but I didn't.
Okay. I was just curious, is like, do people know about this? Like, are they getting people to
Well,
their cafeteria?
I think they're getting some.
Okay.
My next door neighbors, Ruth and Otto,
Mm-hmm. Did you give them
I
their
had,
peaches?
yes, I did.
Okay.
I told them that I had seen this thing about the peach pies. And she said, oh, they had been there.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you might want to be careful about what time you go because when they went, the parking lot's kind of small. And so
Oh,
all the people who are coming to pick up the meals to deliver, they have top priority.
sure.
So I called before I left, and the woman who answered said, so when were you thinking of coming? And I thought, and this was yesterday afternoon. And I said, I was thinking of coming today.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, we're almost out of the peach pies. And so I went over yesterday, late
Mm-hmm.
yesterday afternoon, and got my peach pie. She said they had 55 to start with and they were down to 9.
Well, good
So,
for them.
yeah, people know about it. So,
Nice.
yeah,
And how much did these peach pies cost?
I forgot. Well, I got a little Protos pizza too. And oh, soup. They have soup too. They had butternut squash soup. They had beef barley soup. And I got a little pint of that too. So, yeah,
Gotcha.
all together. And then I put in a donation too for
Gotcha.
Meals on Wheels. And then I got a frequent flyer card and I got 4 punches on it. So, yeah.
What happens when you get all your punches?
Then you can get like a pie, a quiche. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Very
Uh-huh.
nice. Well,
Oh,
good.
so that's my excitement for a 75-year-old lady. How about you, youngster? Let's talk about you.
Youngster. Finally, I've had a list of things that I have been meaning to tackle at the house that I came up with a million, jillion, bagillion reasons why I didn't do them. So I finally said, that's it. I hired a handyman who got wonderful reviews online. By morning, they do blind installations, and by afternoon, They do handyman work only in the county I live in. They don't go outside
Oh,
of our county. So they only do the handyman work at the latter half of the day in the afternoon. So they were supposed to come to my house at 3. They called. Well, I'll get into that. And it's a guy with a a gaggle of young gentlemen with him, teenagers. So he is the lead, of course, and kind of tells the teenagers what they need to do. But all of
oh,
the teenage gentlemen were extremely polite.
really?
They all wore little booties in anytime one of them came into the house. They all put on their little booties for their shoes. I never asked them to. As a matter of fact, I was embarrassed that I didn't mop the floor before they came, but I was like, you know what? It might rain while they're here. I'm just going to do it after they go, the next day.
Hmm.
And then I saw they had the booties. I'm like, well, I guess I didn't have an excuse not to wash the damn floor after all. So
Well, how would you know?
I wouldn't know because I can
Yeah.
tell you I've had many a contractor come to my house. And these are probably the first ones that wore the booties without being asked. Like, I mean, I don't have a take your shoes off policy coming into my house. I don't care what people do, but I just thought it was very conscientious that they all just did it. And I mean, I think he reminded the younger boys to do it, but nobody complained. Everybody just did it. All the boys called me ma'am. It was very sweet. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was adorable. They got right to work. They showed up, just pulled in the driveway. I came outside to greet them, and they were already taking ladders off the truck, and they were in work mode. He's like, I'm going to have the boys start on the gutters. I was having the gutters cleaned, which is something I've done over the years. It's not that I haven't done this, but I was like, if they're coming over, I'd rather them do it than me.
Their bones heal quicker than ours do.
Exactly. Well, I get on a ladder a little bit, but I have a leaf blower that I have an attachment for. So it's it's never the best gutter cleaning, but these guys, did the hose, the whole shebang. Like they clean the gutters. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
I had a piece of gutter that they had to reattach. That was one of the jobs as well. And again, something I could do, but it was in just this awkward location. The one place that is the most awkward to put a ladder on my 1-level house. And I tried doing it without a ladder and I couldn't get it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But I'm also afraid of heights. So I don't like to go on ladders that often.
I did not know that.
Oh, terrified. Yes. But flying doesn't bother me. I think it's just because I've been doing it for so long. It
I was
doesn't
just
even
thinking,
register.
And you'll get up in this metal or whatever thing, and with that. Well,
doesn't bother me in the least. I used to not like flying when I first started, but I got over that quick. With work, I had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then he's like, well, I thought you wanted all the gutters cleaned. I'm like, oh, no, I do. I forgot that's even on the list. Yes. Oh, that's what you meant. Yes. Have the boys start with the gutters. Totally fine. Then I showed him what needed to be repaired. So him and I did a quick walk around the house, just reviewing everything that needed to be done. And then they dispersed and did their stuff. They were just unbelievable. So let's see. They cleaned the gutters. They fixed the gutter. Proactively, something that wasn't on the list, he noticed that a piece of stripping on one of the garage doors was coming off. When I did notice that a while ago, and I was like, I'll deal with that another day. And of course, promptly forgot about it because it's the garage door I don't use. In the summer. Yeah. I use it more in the winter because that's where the snowblower is. But in the summer, I don't use that garage door very often. Anyway, and he saw it and they just fixed it and then told me about it. Like, didn't ask, like, do you want us to do this? He's just like, I noticed that there was a piece of stripping that was coming off. He's like, I got a nail gun. I just went boop, 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 and nailed it back in. He's like, so it should be good to go now. And I was like, yay, that's fantastic. They were supposed to change the light bulbs in my ceiling fan because it's really high. Again, don't like ladders, but I didn't have the right light bulbs. So they went up there, but they couldn't do it. So they're coming back. There's a piece of drywall that they needed to repair. And I'm so excited to see that hole gone.
That's the one by the table?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
I've had a piece of drywall leaning up against the wall covering this hole, folks, for 3 years.
3
3 years.
Auntie, that's not like you.
And it's so silly because it absolutely is something I could do 100%. But for some reason, I just got all nervous about it and just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I said,
well,
they did it.
First of all, I think I'm rubbing off on you if you let it go for 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all, I don't think that's something that, That takes some talent to, because you got to mud and tape and do all that
It
stuff
was
to
just
the.
this little square that needed to be filled. It
Well,
was ridiculous. Ridiculous. It was, and I've seen the YouTube videos. It's actually not that hard at all. My brother patched a hole at my parents' house last year before we were selling it, and I watched him do it, and he did it exactly the way they did it on the YouTube. And he was walking me through, because I told him, I was like, I've got to patch a hole at my house, but I just, for some reason, can't get up the nerve to just do it. And he's like, well,
I've watched hip replacements on YouTube. I'm not going to think I can
that's a
go ahead
little
and do it.
different than patching a
Well,
drywall.
no, it takes a certain finesse and a certain touch. I mean, when you see, when you see real experienced wallboard putter uppers, man, they're
But you're
art.
thinking about putting up whole sheets of drywall. This again was a patch of a.
Well, the patch is about 2 foot by 2 foot, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
Mine? No.
Yeah.
No. No. It was probably about 6 inches long and about 4 inches high. It was ridiculous. I told you, it was ridiculous. I absolutely could have done it easily.
Holy smokes. Even I could have done that. Oh, that's good experience for the kids.
Exactly. So that was good. And I forgot that because it's drywall, it's a 2-step process. So he had to come back anyway. So it worked out that I didn't have the right light bulbs. And then I had a pile of insulation, again, piled up in the crawl space since I had the central heating system put in 3 years ago. That's been sitting in there. That's all gone now. And a dog house that was here since I moved in. I've been trying to give that thing away since the day I got here. Nobody wants it. And finally, I'm like, it can't stay here. So they hauled that away for me. And I have a concrete bench that's down off of my deck that's fallen over again since the day I moved in. It was from the previous owners. I'm like, can you please just stand that thing up and move it over in front of here? That's where I want it. And that's what they did for me. So all that was done in an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I've had these things on my list for 3 years, if not 4.
You know, that cement bench, it's too bad you couldn't have some people over, like, say for a cookout or something, and have them help you with that. But
no, because it's now.
well, yeah.
Before it was hidden by the trees and it didn't bother me as much, but now I took down all these trees and now I could see that it was falling down and I was like, let's just fix that. I did sit on it yesterday. It is not the most stable bench. It is likely to fall over again. So, but at least it's up right now. So I'll have to figure out a better way to stabilize it a little bit. Well, they did what I asked them to do.
Yeah, maybe the fellas can figure that out when they're here the next time.
No.
They're there next time.
Nah,
No.
not going to bother them with that. So they were wonderful. And, but they were supposed to come at 3, and at 12:25, 2.5 hours before expected arrival time, Ron from For the People's Installations called me to tell me we're running about a half an hour late. And I'm like, who are you? You are amazing. Proactive communication, letting me know 2.5 hours before you were expected to arrive that you're running 30 minutes late. I've never, in my 17 years of living in the mountains here in Colorado, I have never had a contractor be that proactive with communication ever. Awesome. Right there, they won me over.
So do you think this is like a mentorship where kids sign up to learn these skills? Or
I think 1 or 2 of the kids were his. So I don't know if the rest are friends or maybe it is some kind of mentorship. Certainly there was one young man who was basically Ron's right hand that I definitely think was trying to learn stuff. The other ones, I'm not 100%. Maybe they take turns doing that. I don't know. I don't know what the dynamic is truly, but I just can't say enough about this group of workers. They're just amazing. And
sounds like
and the young kids they did what they were supposed to do. They didn't screw around. You know, at one point he could hear them talking. He was inside doing the drywall and his right-hand person was with him. And he's like, I hear a lot of talking out there. Can you go outside and make sure?
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And he went out there. It's like, oh my God, the poor kids can talk. As long as they're still working. I think that's what he just wanted to check to make sure they were still actively working and talking.
Do you think this guy is single? Huh?
No, he's not.
No,
he's not. Because his wife, when I found out that they did blind installations as well, I was like, well, I would love to at least talk about potentially getting some blinds for more windows in the house. And he's like, well, that's actually my wife. He's like, but I'll give you her phone number and you can contact her. And since then, I found some other stuff I might try before I go down the more expensive custom blinds thing. So, anywho, highly recommend them for the people installations. They're really very cool guys and some of the best contractors I've ever worked with.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So are you going to put a positive thing out there for them?
It was written and posted within a half an hour of them leaving my house. And Ron responded about 15, 20 minutes thereafter.
Oh, wow.
So, yes.
Good.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't work for me because, I'm the kind of person when my handy dude would come over, it's like, well, I don't know. Do you think you could hang this here?
Oh, they would have because before.
No, but I mean, they got there, they were ready to go, and he didn't want to mess around. He wanted to handle the tasks in a timely manner, where with me and Damon, it was kind of like he was very accommodating to me.
Yes.
I miss him.
No. And he did ask before they left. They were done with everything. He's like, is there anything else we can help you with today? I can confident I could come up with like 10 more things, but I'll let this go. I was like, nope, you guys did what you came to do. We'll save something for another time, I'm sure. This guy is so good with communication. Our very first phone call, we went through the list I had sent him. He told me there was a couple of things on the list he didn't feel comfortable doing. Some landscape thing that I was thinking about and a patch in the hardwood floor, and he was just like, no, I don't want to, no, we don't do that. And I was like, that's fine. But he's told me about how long he thought the list of tasks was going to take. He told me that the exact amount of money per hour that he charges, that the things that they were hauling away because he has a dumpster at his business, I had to pay a portion, just a flat fee. It was very, very reasonable. Flat fee, portion of what it costs him to get the dumpster emptied. And he told me that we never know exactly when we're going to get to a job site. He's like, we could be a half an hour early, we could be a half an hour late, but we definitely will show up. And I said, okay. So going back to his phone call at 12:25 in the afternoon for their appointment at 3:00, and he said it was going to be a half an hour late, he was still within the tolerance of what he already told me over the phone in our first call, and he still called me and showed up at 3:35.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, cannot say enough about them. They're so good. So good.
Sounds like you struck gold there, girl.
Sure did. Sure did.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Now we're on to the part of our program where we discuss what we are watching. And Auntie Joan, what are you watching?
Well, rewatching, as it turns out. This was my week to come up with a TV or movie to discuss. And I was having a real difficult time. So I went and looked at things we had discussed before as possible topics. And Bodkin was on that list.
Bodkin on the Netflix.
And I remembered it being something I enjoyed. So I thought, let's talk about that. So of course, I had to go and watch it again because this thing came out like in May. Well, lots happened between May and August.
Like what?
Don't get me started. I don't know. I don't remember everything. The little file cabinets in my brain get full and they're starting to fall on the floor. But anyway, So I rewatched it, and it stars Will Forte, who some of you may know from Saturday Night Live.
And MacGruber.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I never watched that movie. I thought, no, that's too silly for me. And then there's this Robin Cara who plays Emmy, or her alter ego, SZA. And then Siobhan Cullen, who plays Dove or Dove. Emmy and Dove are journalists working for a newspaper somewhere in Ireland. And then Will Forte is a podcaster from the U.S. who's in Ireland to do a podcast about a mystery that happened in this little quaint village called Bodkin 20 some years ago, where three people disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And he does true crime podcasts. So he's hoping that this particular podcast will reignite interest in him and his podcasts.
Now, the
So they,
crime he thought was related to a festival of some kind, right?
yeah, it was the, oh boy, I'm trying to remember how they pronounced it now. It was Schwarin or
I don't know.
it was like a Halloween type festival.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ireland, the language, if you go to the
Yes.
native language, is nothing is pronounced the way it looks. You know
No.
what I mean?
Sláinte.
Yeah,
Sláinte.
slancha. I
That's
thought that was
cheers.
slancha. I thought that was slancha.
Sláinte.
Slancha. Yeah,
Cheers.
yeah. What's another one? Oh, there's one name. It always blows my mind. Shore. The way it's spelt looks nothing like the way it's pronounced. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so these three get hooked up through the newspaper, and they're going to go to Bodkin to try to solve this mystery of these three vanishing people. And it's a dark comedy. It got some pretty good reviews. Here's something. Did you know that the Obamas were executive producers?
I don't think I did know that.
Yeah, yeah, they were executive producers of that
I
series.
see.
Hmm
I
hmm
see.
So, meanwhile, while they're supposedly investigating this mystery of these
Mm-hmm.
three disappearing people, all kinds of stuff comes up. There's farming eels, EELS,
Mm-hmm.
to make a bunch of money. I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's quite a delicacy, or, I guess,
Gross.
yeah, especially at the end. Oh, there's these nuns that have their home in this old castle. They had a schism with the church back in the 80s, I think it was. So they've kind of gone their own way, and they have yoga and they have Reiki treatments and microdosing, LSD, and things like that. So, yeah, they've kind of gone their own way, but they still wear the habits. So that's kind of funny. Oh my gosh, there were so many things that were going on. Oh, yeah. Tom? Well, he was one of them that disappeared. Ended up with an injured brain, and so now he just doesn't handle things as well as he used to. But he's got a beautiful voice, and yeah.
Yes, his
Uh,
singing voice was amazing.
mhm,
Just
mhm.
amazing. That was Teddy,
uh
right?
Teddy, that's right.
Teddy.
And one of the things that was really funny is every time, whenever the Will Forte or his fellow journalists would go up and meet people, they would introduce themselves. And Will Forte would say, "Yes, I do a podcast, a true crime podcast." And inevitably, somebody would say, "And they listen to that, do they?" Or, "Oh, you make money at that, do you?" It's 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 just a recurring comment that just kind of tickles me because we've made a bundle on this podcast.
Hey, at least we have international listeners.
That's right, we do. Then there's this one fella who dies, and there's this whole Irish wake that they have for him. And of course, it's in the pub, and they've got the Catholic priest there, and he starts saying his Hail Marys. And I'll be darned if he didn't just sound like some of the priests I knew growing up with his Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou, my Lord, blessed through thy Jesus. And then, the pub people respond with the rest of the prayer. So that kind of tickled me seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this Northern Ireland crew of people that have had it in for,
The gang.
yeah, the McArdle gang,
Yes.
had it in with Sean, and then there's this Fiona that was one of the disappeared, and what happened with her, and I mean, there's just and there's more. I mean, and then there's these two people from the government or something that are trying to trap Sean with his eel processing thing. He's like the local criminal.
Mm-hmm.
There's that going on. I mean, it's like each episode, something new pops up to add to this, to add to this, and add to this. And by the end of the whole show, it's like, oh my gosh, how are they going to tie all this together? And I'm exhausted. But
Well,
like I said,
Seamus
yeah,
is the person who was in with that gang. He has done
yes,
crimes
yes.
and things like that. And he fled back to Bodkin and was basically hiding out in Bodkin. Don't believe Seamus was his real name. I don't remember. I think he used an alias when he was in Bodkin. I could be wrong about that, but I know he was hiding out from that weirdo gang with the old lady who was kind of the lead of it.
Oh my gosh, wasn't she
She's
something?
the best. And that old man who was in a wheelchair trying to run in quotes after them, and just silliness. Doesn't Seamus actually slow dance with Will Forte on a bridge?
Yes, yes, and it's to Time After Time.
That's
I believe.
right.
Yes.
I thought that
Cyndi
was very
Lauper's-
silly and weird.
I love that song. I
Oh, the
love
song
that
is great, but the
Yeah,
scene was
yeah.
like, huh. All right.
Yeah, you start thinking, well, maybe this Seamus guy isn't so bad. And
No, he is.
yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. But you want him to have some redeeming qualities because he does, for a good chunk of the movie, come off as a better person than he maybe once was. That doesn't hold throughout.
And then there's Sean, the idiot.
Oh, God. He's just,
He's their driver,
God.
and he thinks he's from Romania because that's
Yes.
the story he was told his whole life.
Yes,
And he wants to go back to Romania.
correct.
And he knows all these facts
Yes.
and things about it. And he's got red hair and fair skin, and
Yes.
he hardly looks Romanian at all. So when you think about it, but
Yeah, this has been out long enough. I don't think we need to be concerned about spoilers. So if you want to say whatever you want to say, just say it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, you mean that he was Seamus's son?
right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been out for months. So if you haven't seen it by now, well, that's on you. Still encourage people to see it. It's an interesting movie or mini series. I don't know what else you call them. Six episode whatever they are on the Netflix these days. I don't know what they're
I
called.
could see them coming up with another season of this.
They might.
Oh, and Gilbert, that's Will Forte's character.
Yeah.
I had such a difficult time remembering his name. For some reason, Gilbert just doesn't resonate with me.
It doesn't resonate, but it does fit the character.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a
But
bit
then-
doofy.
Idealistic.
A little naive.
Positive. He tries to put a positive spin on things.
Yes. And then you have Siobhan, her character, Dove Maloney. So I do like her a lot. She is the lead actress in another series Auntie Joan and I like, which we'll be talking about hopefully later this fall when a new season comes out. And it's called Obituary, and that's on the Hulu.
Oh.
But she definitely is a little typecast. I feel like her Dove Maloney character is very similar to her character in Obituary. Just dark and badass and kind of couldn't give two fucks about anything, and bit of a drunk, Obituary is definitely a different story, folks. If you haven't seen that, well, like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit more into the fall here. But yeah, I just kind of felt like it was a very similar character. Then she was getting a little typecast.
I did like her. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I still like her. I was just like, but I
Yeah.
think I've seen this character before. Always wearing black, always.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's just seemed very similar to me. But the two stories are very different of the shows. And I just think she plays the characters very similarly.
Emmy, the other journalist, I loved seeing her character mature and grow through it. I mean, she
Yes.
starts out as this mealy mouth little gopher girl, and
Yes.
man, she ends up telling the boss who she is and what her job is at the end. So, and kind of like drops the mic and says, "Okay, I'll be here on Monday."
Right.
So that was cool.
It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All in all, I thought it was a good show. If they have a second season of it, I would watch it. I thought it, as soon as I saw it was about a podcast, I started cracking up. I was like, please, do tell us more.
And people listen to it, do they?
I gotta love the Irish, blunt and straight to the point, but with a little lilt in their voice to make it not so you can swallow the medicine a little bit better.
Yeah.
Cuties. I love Ireland, so anything that's got Ireland in it, I'm a sucker for it. One of my favorite places
especially
to go.
the gin, huh?
Well, the gin, yes, but just Ireland in general I just adore that. I love that country.
So nice and green.
Very nice and green. Everybody's very friendly, and yes.
Are you going to go back?
I'll go back, sure. Not top of
mean,
my.
are
I've
you
been
thinking
twice
of-
already, so it's hard to put that high on my list. But
Yeah.
I do. I will. There's more. There's more I want to see.
So that was Bodkin. It's not a real town, and it's not based on a real case.
No.
So, welcome back.
Welcome back. Now we're on to the part of our program where we discuss commercials we have to talk about.
So, you got a commercial, Auntie?
I do. It is the response to our previous review of the Airbnb ads, where they are very clear that you should stay in an Airbnb because the parents and the kids don't have to go to bed at the same time like you do in a hotel. So if you stay in an Airbnb, everybody's got their own bedrooms, but there's still common area, and the parents can stay up late, the kids can go to sleep, and the parents can get up early, and the kids could still be sleeping, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is Hilton for the stay, haunted rental. Oh my God, this thing is awesome. And it is where this family does book. They don't say Airbnb, but it's a rental. And they first pull up to the house and they hold up the phone like, doesn't look like it does on the internet. And it looks like a haunted house. And they go in and there's dolls that spin their heads around and freak the kids out, and it's creepy and wonderful. And basically the ultimate thing is you can get an adjoining room at a Hilton so the parents can stay in one room, the kids can stay in another. So that's their response to how parents can stay up later and kids could go to sleep earlier, and they have their own spaces, but they're still connected. So I thought it was an interesting little, I hope they do more of these. I'm kind of excited to see them continue to fight it out because they're getting really creative, and I really like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. So what did you think of it, Auntie Joan?
Well, I thought they did a pretty good job of kind of clapping back at VRBO and whatever the other one is.
Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah. When you do reserve through VRBO, you do kind of take your chances, but there's enough people that write online, what their experience was there, so you get a pretty good idea, of what you're getting into.
You have to read the reviews. You cannot just go by the pictures. You cannot go by the description. You have to read the reviews to see if it's truly, and it's got to be, in my book, depending on where it is, like if it's a obscure area or whatever, 10 plus reviews would be the minimum that I would expect to read before I'd be like, all right, I believe whatever the general consensus is. But if it's a very well-known area, city, or just a landmark or whatever, whether it's international or here in the United States, I'm looking for hundreds of reviews and what the overall rating is. And then I still go through and read. And I probably start with the worst ones.
Right. I usually do too.
And see what are they pissing and moaning about? Is it something that I would give a shit about, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And to see how long ago that happened. So there's lots of research that needs to go into before you decide to do it. But honestly, same thing with a hotel. I mean, they're making it seem like hotels are always on the up and up with the pictures that they have of their facilities online, and that's not true at all. Point in case, when I went to Billy Joel and we stayed at the Residence Inn, and the outside looks all upkept and beautiful, and you walk in and it's a dilapidated shack. Not dilapidated shack, that's a bit harsh. But
outdated.
Definitely outdated. Oh my God, I don't even think I told you guys about the fan Oh my God, Hayes would love this. She turns on because it's hot in there. They had the air conditioning on, but the upstairs where I was staying, so we had a 2-bedroom thing, loft thing. They call it the penthouse in quotes, which is just comical. It was obviously warmer up there because heat rises. So she's like, oh, I'll put the fan on. This fan was literally doing this the entire time. Loud, and like echoing. Hope we're not going to sleep with that thing on. Like, it was awful. I mean, the fixture itself looked like it was updated and not from the day the structure was built, but it ran so loud. It was terrible. I'm like, there's not a chance. It sounded like a flat tire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that sound was just it's so loud and obnoxious, that flat tire. That's what the fan sounded like.
Did it have a long pole, or
No.
was it up flush to the ceiling?
Not quite. Closer to flush to the ceiling. And there was a switch on the wall that I couldn't even figure out. Because when we got back after the concert, I'm like, I went to go turn it off because I'm like, there's no way we're sleeping with this thing on. I had to call Hayes out of her bedroom, like, hey, you turned this thing on. How the hell do you turn this thing off? And she came out and had to turn it off because I couldn't figure it out. So all I'm saying is them trying to make it seem like, oh, you can't trust the pictures on VRBO and Airbnb. It's like, no, you can't trust the pictures on anything. You have to read the reviews. And I did not read the reviews on the Residence Inn. Now, I've stayed at Residence Inn before. So I kind of figured, because the last, again, penthouse in quotes, that I stayed in looked exactly like this one. It needed updating. Terrible. Yeah. And it was totally different locations.
Yeah.
Yes. They all need updating. They keep up the outside to make it look nice. Curb appeal. And then you walk in. And then it's like, oh. Well.
I like those penthouse embassy suites. No, wait, it wasn't Embassy Suites. It was the Residence Inn. That's what I'm thinking of that I used to like to stay at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about, the Residence Inn.
Oh. Yeah, I used to like those, but that was
But that's probably when they were first built.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
Yeah. And they haven't touched them since.
Oh, dear.
Yes. So I hope this rivalry continues. I'd like to see them continue to put out competing little ads about how it's better to stay at one versus the other. And I like it. I like the little digs, and I think they're getting super creative.
I do too. I will say, like I travel so much, right? But if I'm going to go someplace and stay somewhere for longer than a couple days, I want a kitchen.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I want some room.
I would recommend Homewood Suites were always nice. Any Homewood Suites I ever stayed in was always kept up. Now I haven't stayed in one in a very long time. I will say that. But Residence Inn, I mean, we're talking this is years apart, and they've not changed. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend a Residence Inn unless you go there for a short stay first, check it out, see if maybe they have done some updating, and then book your longer stay another time or something. Like the one I stayed in, I take that back. That's right. Because the Residence Inn I've stayed in Connecticut visiting family, actually, although it's not an old facility in general, I want to say it's probably been built in the past 20 years. And that one was nice. Nice. I didn't have the penthouse thing. Oh, that's right. I didn't stay in the penthouse thing, so I couldn't say. But it was a regular room with a kitchen and dining room and living room and bedroom. I mean, all one big open area, but it was nice. Clean, nice. Looked like they've been keeping up with it. But I didn't stay at the penthouse, so I don't know what that one looked like. So maybe that looked the same. I don't know. Homewood Suites were always nice when I used to stay in them. But yeah, you just got to do your research and read the reviews. Read the reviews.
I find I do the same thing when I'm buying something like from Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And I always go to the the bottom reviews first to see. And I'll tell you, there's been so many times I haven't bought something.
Yep.
Just because they said, well, this thing broke after I used it twice, you know?
Yep. And how many? I always do the percentages too. Like if it's 70% 5-star, 10% 4-star, and 10% 3-star. I'm like, well, that's 90%. There's some people who just won't give 5-star reviews. So I'm like, they probably fell in the 4 or 3 category. I knew somebody I worked with back in the day who would always say, I never give 5-star reviews. There's always room for improvement. And I'm like, okay. So that's why I take those with a grain of salt. And so that's like 90% good reviews is how I looked at it. And again, if there's 1,000+ reviews, 90%, 900-ish people said it was good and only 100 people said not so good.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder too, you hear about fake reviews, competitors put out there and stuff. So
very true.
Yeah,
Very
just
true.
got to take it all with a grain of salt.
Yep. Do your research, folks.
Yeah.
And then you live and learn.
Don't we?
All right, Auntie Joan, anything else for our listener today?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, then.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. So that wraps it for yet another wonderful pickled watermelon rinds episode. This is Auntie signing off.
And Auntie Joan saying bye-bye now.
We thank you for listening. And remember, when life eats away at your core, make pickled watermelon rinds.